folks. My name is Afatchao, and I'm a co-founder and board president for ICPSD.
My name is Whitney Schroeder. I'm co-founder and executive director. Today we wanted to kind of talk about our vision statement and how we landed on that and what it means in the context of what we do. So our vision is a vibrant and flourishing African communities in an ever-changing world.
Yeah.
And kind of some keywords in there are vibrant and flourishing. So, Ro, do you want to kind of share what that means in the context of Togo and Africa and the work we do?
Yeah, thank you. Those are some very important concepts that we put in our vision. But you have to understand that for a long time, right? Oriented organization, we usually go to Africa to work, and they get to tell people how they should work, how things they should do in order to promote themselves and then develop themselves. So we come from the belief that people in Africa, people in various communities in Africa know what is better for them. We don't. Right.
And we being like the mainstream Western, more developed countries.
Even the elite in Africa, they don't. Most of the people don't know.
They model a lot of
so
Western.
So the communities themselves know how what is good for them, and then where they wanted to see themselves. So basically, that's why when we say vibrant, we mean that in the concept of each community. Right, how various participants, the youth, the women, the men, everybody in the community, all type of organization in the community come together to participate in the life of that community to make it vibrant. Right, it's not gonna rely on just one entity, one unit in the country, and it's definitely not gonna rely on us. Right, I mean, from Idaho telling folks in the Togolese community, for example, we want you to be this and that, and so. That vibrant community used to be there in the old days, and I can tell you, as someone who grew up in Togo, I can tell you that when I was a child, most activities in the community are done by the entire community. No, and it's just sad now that when you go in various communities there now, most of the time people want the government to do stuff for them. People want the government to do this and do that, or anybody in leadership position basically have to be the one doing the work for people. So we wanted to go back to that vibrant community life where each part of the community come together to do things together, both good and bad, to share all type of things together. So that's the vibrant side, right? And then flourishing, we all know that society is always changing, right? And when we say flourishing, it's going to be in their context, right? And we're not putting any one definition on the flourishing, because what might be flourishing in one community might not be flourishing in the other community. Whatever it is for them, is up to them to basically define that and be able to come up with a solution, to come together and be able to make their community vibrant and flourishing, right? Flourishing for some might be, they wanted to have more yield for their farms, and then that will help them do other activities. For others, it might be maybe they have some mining activities going on in country. Maybe that's what they wanted to use in order to make their life better in the community. Whatever that is up to them, right? Not up to us. So we come very with humility, saying that we are not telling you what to do, but we wanted to be there with you, right, as you rediscover basically your this sort of a vibrant community that we used to have, and then make that community basically endures, basically.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to come from a lived experience. So I had a specific lived experience here, and I think it's easy for people in general, not everybody, but people in general, to go to another country and be like, oh, I had this really great thing, you should have it too. But that doesn't always serve everybody the same way. And someone's experience may not apply positively in another context. And so we try to really center the local context. And I think it's even something we're starting to see in the States a little bit too, is just more localized approach to things rather than a one size fits all. This is how it should be sort of mentality. And like Ro mentioned, the community aspect of that is pretty central. There's a myriad of reasons we could probably talk for hours as to what's influenced the changes from how it was when he's a boy to now. But it's, when I say community too, it's also not just the community-led aspect, but we're also coming from a community framework, and by community it's that sharing. And so like we come in humbly to support, and then it's like we have resources and knowledge that is there for the taking, but it's not being forced on them. And it goes both ways, we're learning lots and lots as well, both in the reforestation work and in just community learning and what that can look like in so many different ways, because there is there's not one right way for anyone, for everything. So
yeah, so I mean, even though that's what we're trying to do, is still very challenging, because in a lot of those communities that we work in, I would say over the last 30 years or so, most organizations that will go in country or in those communities to work are mostly, they come from the Western framework and say, okay, we think this is good for you, this is good for you, this is better for you, and then they have the resources, so they will drop money. Yeah, they will drop heavy, a lot of resources on those projects. A lot of them are not sustainable because they don't have a local ownership, and they something that is foreign that people implant in communities, and because they come with the resources, people accept them, right?
Yep.
And to tell you the truth, to change the mind and say, okay, this is not working, most people know it's not working. But when you come in, especially if you don't come with the same type of resources, you're like, okay, let's go back to the old ways. It's never easy, right?
Yeah.
But the old ways in this context is more sustainable. When locals own their own development, when they own their own development, when they create the incentive for their own development, when they bring people, organizations, and the entities within their community to come together and solve the problems, then they do better. You could actually see it at the local organizational level right now, where the government in Togo has created basically these local development communities in each city. In each city, they have like area development committees, right? Multiple in one city, and then all of them will come together, and then they'll create city level development community, and then each city and towns will come together to create county level development community. It's fascinating. So it creates this sort of a synergy between various communities and various entities within those communities to come together and participate in the ideas, in the creation of ideas that are gonna lead the development of their own community. So that's very exciting to see, and that's exactly what we're supporting.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point that you bring up, because when we talk about the Western context coming over and saying this is how it should go, a lot of what Ro just said, a lot of us can be like, well, that's the same as like, the city, county, state, federal kind of model, right? That it feels similar to that over here. But when we talk about the context being important, and the Western influence coming over and saying this is oh, look, this is a problem you have, this is how you should fix it, that sort of thing, we're more referring to how over the last several decades, because Western aid hasn't been in Togo as long as some other African countries, but what we're talking about is when someone comes in with all these resources and dumps them all in some ways that can be very debilitating. I mean, think about let's put this in a very general analogy of a parent who does everything for their kid, and then if that parent all of a sudden dies, and that kid does not know how to do anything. They don't know how to wash their laundry. They don't know how to cook food. They don't, like, what do? They're totally reliant on someone else to do those things for them. And so in a lot of ways, that's kind of how a lot of Western aid has been. Its intention has been good to come in and help. But instead of putting the leadership and the power with the local communities it desires to help, in a lot of ways it debilitates. And then there's this conditioning of expectation as well. Like, well, someone else can just come in and fix this, and someone else can just pay for this. Or you have these models of, like, let's put these really high-tech things in these rural communities, and then, you know, it's beneficial for a while, but then it breaks down, and where's that organization? It's not there oft times to fix it or to help.
Locals are not trained to basically solve those issues. So
and that kind of touches on that ever-changing aspect of our vision, is because the world is rapidly changing, like globally, technology, all this stuff. And so, you know, we're cognizant of that, and we want to try to find ways to support folks in their development and building that community aspect, again, from that, like, long-term context, and like envisioning a sustainable future. And how can we do that in this world that's always so rapidly changing? Yeah,
talking about the flourishing aspect of it. If you look at for example, today we know that in most communities in Africa, we have, most people have cell phones, right? Yeah. And a lot of those people, a lot of those houses didn't have the line, right? So they jumped that technology, and now they're using the cell phone. Guess what? It was in Kenya that they actually developed the software that basically, basically allows people to send money via phone through the program known as M-Pesa, that has become basically a program that many communities across the globe are using, especially the one that had been totally outside of the banking system, right? And because in the past, in order to have bank account, you need your birth certificate, you need the ID, you need a lot of other stuff. But you don't need those stuff for your cell phone in most communities. So all of a sudden, people could actually have their savings, transfer money, and do all the stuff that we all have been doing for ages, right? Now they can also participate in the global economy. They can participate in the local economy. They can participate in the vibrancy of their own economy, which is very exciting. That's what we're talking about, right? So, for example, that cell phone program, that platform was not developed by the Westerners. It was developed by people in Kenya who saw the opportunity to actually help their community by using cell phones, right? And if you go to Togo today, the biggest platform for sending money is the cell phone, right? Yeah. So.
Well, and it's really opened a lot of doors for people who wouldn't have ever, or provided access. So.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's what we're all about. So we go there with humility. Yeah.
Peace and a lot of listening.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Cheers.